Captain, if you'll just indulge me on some of these latest developments, what do you make of the timing of all of this and what the FBI is looking at pursuing now as some of these emails, potentially thousands of them, dropped in its lap?
Well, thanks for having me on, Neil. So I look at this as somebody who has served our country for 25 years. I worked at NASA for 15 years. And one thing we're always reminded as government employees is to be really careful about being involved in partisan politics in your official position. So I'm a little concerned with this being just these new revelations coming out about 10 days before the election. I'm concerned that not enough thought went into making this decision to release just partial information. It's pretty much unprecedented that something like this has happened within a month of a presidential election.
But what if he had no choice,
really
sir? I guess that's what I mean. As a former astronaut, as a former Navy captain, obviously you've had to deal with some thorny issues yourself, and that if it looked like in this case information that he had readily available he didn't make available, people would come back at him and be biting him for not doing that, right?
Well, but you say he might not have had any choice. Well, you always have the choice, right? And then you got to live with your choices, and you got to explain them. I think the consequences are just so high in this case.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a presidential election. On one hand, we have in Hillary Clinton perhaps the most experienced person ever to run for the presidency. On the other hand, in Donald Trump, you have somebody that has shown himself to be, in my opinion, erratic and even at times reckless in some of his positions.
But
and some
isn't
of the
this
rhetoric
reckless,
that he
Captain?
used.
I know where you're coming from, and I know your wife and you obviously support Hillary Clinton. That's fine. But given all of her experience, do you find that she was sloppy at a minimum? And what if something comes to light in these thousands of emails out there that shows classified material ended up on a totally ancillary person's laptop? That all does go back to her, does it not?
Yeah, but well, not necessarily, right? This wasn't her laptop, and we're going to have to see. Maybe these thousands of emails have already been reviewed, and now they're going to be reviewed again.
Maybe.
And
maybe.
It's just a little unusual to do something. So that's certainly possible. We don't know. But what we do know is we're 10 days, well, right now we're a week away from an election. That's, you hear this over and over again, that this is the most important election in our lifetimes. And I think this is really the case. And, I'm going to stress again, in Hillary Clinton, we have somebody with experience and a record. In Donald Trump, what I have seen over the last year is somebody who has been pretty reckless on the campaign trail. And I think there is nothing more indicative of how a president is going to conduct serving in the office of president is how he ran his campaign. And the Donald Trump campaign has been a roller coaster.
So you don't mind how Hillary Clinton might have been running the State Department or handling email? The email server is not an issue to you?
No, I do. No, I think that's important, and I think to some extent that issue was resolved, and there were no charges brought.
But you're right. I mean, now we have new stuff, and you're right. You could argue back and forth. I know you're very interested in addressing the gun streak and the violent streak in this country. You don't think we should forget that. You know firsthand from the near-death experience of your wife how important that is. Let's say Donald Trump, though, gets elected, and it would be an uphill battle. Do you and your wife fear that this issue never gets addressed?
Well, it wouldn't be addressed by him. I mean, we would go in the wrong direction if he was elected to be president. We would basically live in a country, as far as guns are concerned, basically exactly what the National Rifle Association and the gun lobby wants, a very powerful corporate interest that's driven by corporate profits. We'd live in a country where everybody has a gun and nobody is safe. What Hillary Clinton stands for is somebody who supports the Second Amendment, but at the same time believes that we can do a much better job keeping guns out of the hands of felons, domestic abusers, and even people that are suspected of terrorism.
But if you're not already, sir, I'm sorry, but if you're crazy already, Captain, and you can get a gun, right? I mean, isn't that the fear that the same person who tried to kill your wife would probably find a way?
We know that 2 million people went into federally licensed firearms dealers, felons, and were denied buying a gun because of their felony convictions. Now, how many of those went to a gun show and then bought a gun later, we don't know. But we are a country of laws, and we know that laws work. I mean, should we have no laws at all because sometimes some people can get around them? No, that does not make sense. You know, we can do a much better job. We have 33,000 people dying every year. We have another 100,000 shot. We can do a lot better than that. And the answer is not to make it easy for criminals to get guns. That is not the answer.
Captain, a real pleasure having you. I think those on the right or the left,
Thank you.
I commend all of your service to this country.